It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of January 14th, 1994. 5 movies to look at, so let's just jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that was House Party 3.
First it was just for fun, then it was for education. Now they're getting serious.
Bachelor party, that's right.
I hear you're getting married. Too bad.
Oh, no. He's not married yet.
I guess it goes down like that with those gold-digging hoochie mama gut bucket skeezers you attract.
Well, I miss your father. Damn, I wish he was here. Me too, Uncle Vesta. Besides, he owe me $150.
It's all we want. Some chicken wings, hot dogs, and a case of 40s. You get that?
First of all, you need to go gargle. Funky.
Man, my name is Stinky. Stinky, all right?
Stinky, funky, smell hella bad. It's all the same.
What is your line of business?
Unemployment line.
Boom! Now I got to cut you. That's the rule. Cut you. Cut you. You better hurry up, get over here. People are gonna party everybody and their mama here, including the law. I ain't scared of you. I ain't riding the key. I'll get one of you.
House Party 3.
Yeah, this is another one of those comedies that became a trilogy that honestly really did not need to become a trilogy or a continuing series of movies like the Police Academy movies or the Hangover movies. The first House Party was a great movie. After that, each one got worse and worse, and this is indeed the worst of the series. It's a movie that, I don't know, I just don't feel like the magic was there this time around, even though you have Kid and Play there. I don't know, I don't know if their stick got really old, or it's just because the fact that most of the people that made the first movie great were for the most part no longer there. You just still didn't have Reginald Hudlin there. You didn't have the right scriptwriters there. The director of this is not the same guy from the previous movies. It just wasn't there. The magic just wasn't there anymore. Even though I will admit some of Bernie Mac's lines in this movie are legitimately funny, but it's Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac is usually very funny. Pretty decent cast overall. TLC is in this movie. Gilbert Gottfried's in here. Chris Tucker, this is his first one that he'd ever starred in. Marcus Houston, Candy Alexander, Tisha Campbell with a special appearance, as the credits say, which, I mean, they had her as one of the marquee stars in the trailer itself, and then you get to the end credit. The credits is just like special appearance by Tisha Campbell. Like, which one is it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I don't know what it is. Like, I think the first House Party worked because it worked for the time period. Like, by 1994, Kid and Play were not as successful as they were back at the start of the decade, and their stick kind of got old pretty quickly. I don't know. It's just really tough to say. It's just like this was one of the last things that they did together. So, like I said, yeah, their stick kind of got old, but their thing got kind of old pretty quickly, and they couldn't really last too much longer after this, so they had to go on and do their own separate things, and it turned out better for them. But with this movie in particular, it just really felt like they were trying to go deep into the hole one last time, and they didn't have the right material, the right humor, the right quality overall. It's just a movie that's really, it just didn't work. It just wasn't a movie that wasn't really all that good. It was a movie that's pretty forgettable, and it just goes to show you that the first House Party was such a special movie that worked so well that the sequels really couldn't live up to that same hype as the first movie, especially without the same people that made the first movie so great. And as of the time of recording this, we're getting a House Party reboot produced by LeBron James that comes out next month. Which, I mean, there's a chance that it could be better than the sequels, but those trailers were not looking too promising. So, who knows? But that's pretty much all I got to say about that one, House Party 2. Moving on to the next movie, and that is Iron Will.
You want something real bad. You've got to go out where you can find it and grab it.
I want to feel alive. I want to feel like Dad's alive. He was going to do this for me. Now let me do it for him.
We are here about a race.
A boy thrust into manhood.
Let them race. You won't last through the first day.
I'll last as long as any man here, including you, mister.
522 miles.
This is the meanest stretch of land that God ever put together.
$10,000, Will. You don't have to die for it.
I'll wager $5,000 he doesn't make heartbreak hell.
You've got one chance. You must run at night when the others have stopped.
You ever had frostbite? You will. Your fingers and toes. They're gonna look like this. I'm not quitting.
A challenge as deadly as nature's fury and man's greed.
What's the matter, kid? You scared?
A will as strong as iron.
The kid's in the lead.
Whole country's rooting for you.
Are you in the wheel store?
Why is the heart of a bear?
Catch him. Stop him.
You tried to kill my dog!
In the classic tradition of Walt Disney Adventures comes the incredible story of a boy who faced his fears
Come near me or my team again, I'll kill you outright.
and rallied a nation
It's stolen. It's not possible.
to believe
Attaboy, we'll give him something to talk about back home!
in a dream. Iron Will.
I mean, usually when it comes to movies like this, Disney usually does a pretty good job of creating a great escapist, not even escapist, a great adventure film set in the snow. I mean, they did it so well with White Fang. They've done it recently with other movies like Togo, which is great on Disney Plus. And I'm one of the few people that really like The Call of the Wild, the one that with Harrison Ford in it. But I don't know. This movie in particular, I don't think really has that same magic to it. I mean, it's a good concept. You have this kid who's in this cross country dog race in the early 1900s, and you have all these people. You have these people trying to come after them. Dogs that can't really work with this kid, and then the extreme weather they had to go through this point. I mean, usually stuff like this would make for a pretty good adventure movie. These sled movies, I'm beginning to see that these dog sled movies really have become more enjoyable. Like stuff that I've talked about, stuff like Togo, stuff like even something like Balto, which we'll get into when we get to the next year in '95. But yeah, this movie just didn't really seem to have that same spark. I mean, it's not a bad looking movie. It does look visually nice at times, but it just doesn't have that same feel or same greatness of something like White Fang or something like the movies I mentioned, Togo and Call of the Wild, or even Balto. But I mean, it's not a bad movie overall. I just feel like it's one where you watch it once, it's not too bad, but you have no desire to ever watch it again after that. So that's pretty much my thinking on this movie. So that's Iron Will. On to the next movie, which I think I called it The Farce of Death in the previous episode, but this is not that movie. This is Death Wish, The Face of Death. The Face of Death, with Charles Bronson again.
In the world of glamour and high fashion, a new crime syndicate is taking over. Peekaboo.
I watched this guy coming up through the Irish gangs. Now he's ruthless.
He's infiltrated every aspect of my business.
Their methods are brutal.
Promise me if anything should happen to me, he'll take care of Chelsea.
Gone. The one thing they didn't count on was an enemy who wouldn't back down.
You know, these people, they steal, they murder, destroy people's lives, and get away with it.
Kersey's no amateur. You've got a problem.
Charles Bronson is back.
I'm coming for you, O'Shea.
And this time, he's not leaving until his wish is their command.
No judge, no jury, no appeal, and no deals.
Let the cops take these guys down. Sometimes the law works.
And sometimes it doesn't.
It's showtime.
History.
Where's the girl?
Bronson.
Guns make you nervous?
Death Wish.
Yeah, another one of those movies where it's a late sequel in the series. There's no real effort put into it, and they basically made this movie because if you stick the name Death Wish on there, they think people are going to see it, and nobody saw it, and you could definitely see why. Like, it's a movie that's so bad that even Charles Bronson himself looked at this and said, "Yeah, I got to get out of these movies, man." It's just like, the movie was. It's just another Death Wish movie, and not a good Death Wish movie. It's another generic Death Wish sequel where nothing really. It's the same movie over and over again. It's the same movie over and over again. It's just like what I just said, the same movie over and over again. Take a drink every time I say it. But, yeah, there's just nothing different about this movie than the other sequels. At least the first two Death Wish movies were still good movies. But everything after that, Death Wish 3, Death Wish 4, and this movie, and even some of the movies that don't have the Death Wish name on it that Charles Bronson was in, they were all pretty much Death Wish knockoffs, and it's gotten to the point where this series itself is essentially a knockoff movie. Like, there's no real reason to keep making these movies, and thankfully this was the last one, although they would have attempts to try to to do the series again in different forms, like Kevin Bacon did Death Sentence, which was directed by James Wan, which was based on the story, which the book by Brian Garfield, which eventually was the inspiration for the sequel to Death Wish. And then we got the remake of Death Wish itself, done by Bruce Willis and Eli Roth, which was better than the sequel, most of the sequels, but nothing really stands out about it that makes me want to see it again. It's just like, it's there, so I mean, honestly, it's just not a good movie. Like everything after the second Death Wish movie, you could pretty much just skip over, because honestly, it's just the same movie over and over again. It gets worse and worse and worse with every single film. Like, the trailer's not even, if the trailer doesn't even have the will to say the title of this the full title, and just say Death Wish, like, they're just struggling to find something there. So that's Death Wish: The Face of Death. So on to the next movie, and that is Where the Rivers Flow North.
I've got a lifetime lease. I'm staying on my line.
Drag on, man. Can't you see we're trying to help you?
How does one man help another by flooding his land and ending his livelihood?
Where courage lives and the frontier endures, there is rugged beauty.
The way to beat a man in a horse trade is not to let him know that you've got to have what he don't yet know you want.
So the premise of this movie is that it takes place in 1927 in Kingdom County, Vermont, where a large dam is to be built. However, Noah Lord, a logger and a Cedar Earl harvester, won't give up his lifetime lease on the land that will be flooded. The dam company increases its offer of cash, but Noah refuses. He asks for a trade, a stand of pines for his lease. The company doesn't want it, but offers to make Roll and Noah a ranger in his new park. Noah talks to his Indian mate, the Spirit Bangor, after they're moving to Oregon and buying a sawmill. She wants him to take the company's money, but he's pig-headed. Is Noel headed for confrontation with the company and the law, or can Bangor prevail to effect a truce? Which, judging by what I've just said, you can pretty much tell that I'm just reading off the synopsis for this movie, because I've never seen this movie, and I've really literally know nothing about it, so I really can't tell you if this is any good. But honestly, just by the looks of that trailer and that premise alone, it kind of reminded me of that terrible Greg Kinnear movie, Flash of Genius, about the guy who created the intimate windshield wiper and wanted Ford, and tried to sue Ford for it, but they kept trying to get these deals for him. These plea deals, like they'll give him $10 million if they drop the case, and he's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's just like, and he loses his family and all that. And when he wins that case, he earns less money than Ford was offering to him. But it feels like the same kind of movie here, and the story at least sounds a little bit better than that, because Rip Torn in this movie I don't think is stupid enough to be on the same level as Greg Kinnear and Flash of Genius. And Rip Torn, this looks like a role that was completely different for him. I'd never seen him in a role like this before. Like And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it could be something here. You also have Michael J. Fox in here. Treat Williams is also in here. It's got a decent cast to it. It's just a movie I've never even heard of until now, and that usually doesn't mean it's a good sign. Or maybe it could be an underrated gem that nobody really ever talks about. But that's pretty much all I got for you on this one. Where the River Flows North. So on to the last movie, and that is the remake of Body Snatchers.
There's something in the air, and it feels like fear. There's something in the night, and it seems like terror. There's someone in your bed, and it looks like you.
Mommy?
Life will be simpler now. The only thing missing
Mommy?
will be you.
Mommy?
What's the matter, honey? What's the matter?
There's Mommy. She's right there. What happened?
I'm seeing people at the infirmary exhibiting paranoia. People afraid to sleep.
Get in bed.
Afraid of family members.
Let it go!
People afraid of themselves.
We gotta go right now!
Oh, Marty, let's get out of here.
They're out there. They're everywhere.
It's not my bed!
We're gonna get out of here, Marty.
Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna hide? Nowhere. 'Cause there's no one like you left.
Body Snatchers. The invasion continues. They'd kill to be you.
Talk about ending the show on yet another underrated gem. We talked about Cabin Boy in the last episode, and now we have this remake of Body Snatchers, directed by Abel Ferrara, who also did Bad Lieutenant, and we recently looked at one of his other movies, which was Dangerous Game, which ended up being one of the worst movies of '93. But you know what? This is a pretty damn good adaptation of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We've already had two film adaptations, the 50s classic and, of course, the 78 classic film. Both classics on their own rights, with memorable moments that just still are just terrifying even to this day. And this movie still has some legitimately good scares to it. Like, there are scenes in this movie that really did make me jump at times. And I'm usually aware of horror movie jump scares, honestly, but man, some of the scenes in this movie really are just downright terrifying. And Meg Tilly in this movie, man, is she terrifying in this. That monologue she gives in the trailer is just like, there's just something creepy about it. This just gets me every single time, and it's just like, it's a really good remake. It's a really good remake that takes chances. It modernizes the story. The special effects are done very well. Yeah, the premise is very much a similar premise to the original two movies, but you know what? It works. It's got a great cast overall, a great grisly, dark feel to it. And for Abel Ferrara, who directed Bad Lieutenant, this is a good step for him in the right direction to take on other projects at different genres, and he makes it work very well. And it's, like I said, it's a legitimately terrifying movie. Like, it's a movie that I look at and I'm just like, ugh. Like, it still gets me after all these years, and it is very underrated. It is a very underrated movie, and if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, because you might be surprised by how much you really enjoy this. It's a really good remake, and you know what? It kicks the crap out of that 2000s remake with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. That was a mess all around, but yeah, this movie is legitimately good. So, Body Snatchers, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. And on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll jump into January 21st with two movies, including Richard Gere, Lolita Davidovich, and Sharon Stone in Intersection. We also have Robin Altman's Shortcuts, which went into wide release this weekend, after coming out in late 1993 and just getting a wider release in time for the Oscar season. We'll take a look at that movie. So we'll have two movies to look at on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.